This is our second video covering a Visigraph typewriter, and today we're going to talk about type bar bearings and type bar mounting. I think everybody's used to seeing typewriters like this. And Dave, what is that?
That's a Brother Profile 715, and this is typical of what most people are probably used to seeing with a slotted type bar segment here.
Let's get the light on that.
Okay. See these slotted type bars here, the segment for the type bars that they ride in.
Here we go. Yep, that's what it was. You seeing? Oh, what is?
Oh,
what is that?
I don't know what that is. That's actually a dial-a-type attachment.
We might have to come back to that later or in some other video or something else. But anyway, showing you this because this is a type of machine construction that most people are used to. On the Visigraph, we're looking at this.
Individual bearings for the type bars, rather than one big metal slotted segment through which the hinge or bearing for the type bars is made. This has, as you can see, in fact, on the end here, you can see, look at the rows there. See, an individual, and you can see the sets.
Now remember, for those of you that, this is the type bar mounting out of that machine, the Visigraph.
Right. So that, that and...
So you look at this, they're mounted in fours. If you can see, that's kind of hard to see. If I get the phone in there, they're mounted in groups of four.
Yeah, you can see it.
Staggered. And if we flip it over, you can actually see the mounting screws for them there.
All individual. That had to be fun to assemble.
Yeah. So, and that's pretty common on early machines. Let's take a look at a couple other machines here. We've got Remington Smith Premier 30 on the left, and it's just as broken as it was the first time you saw it on the website. That's a year or two ago.
Deferred maintenance.
That's right. And Victor number 3 on the right. This is going to be a little more familiar machine with individual type bar bearings. See if you can see that there.
Again, individual.
Yeah, can you get the light a little more over?
Yeah,
there we go.
Very different than the Visigraph there.
So you see the type bar is hinging on this point right there.
Spring underneath.
Yep, the return spring is mounted right underneath it with an adjustment screw for the return spring right there. Or excuse me, that's just an attachment. I don't think that's a tension. And you see the reach rod pulls over the top. So for those of you that are patent hounds, this would be, looking under patent classification 400, this would be type bar pulled to print point. You see they're staggered. So this type bar is actually a little different. The shape is a little different, and the bearing is actually a little further toward the typist.
Yeah, every other one is a different style. There's two basic styles.
But you can see there the bearing surface that the type bar is writing on, and that's a little more substantial than the Visigraph. The whole type bar is more solid than that on the Visigraph. Zoom in here, you'll see that the type slugs are mounted on pins.
Very similar to the Visigraph.
Right,
yep.
This is what we talked about the other day. I couldn't dig up a really old Monarch right off the top of my head, so we had to. That's what this machine is, by the way. It started as the Monarch, and then became the Remington Monarch, and then became the Remington Smith Premier, and finally became the Smith Premier 30, 40, and 60. Here's a completely different way to skin a cat. Actually, pretty much everything in this typewriter is completely different.
Absolutely.
The Victor. Most people who are familiar with typewriters will recognize this very unusual ribbon mounting at the print point. You will see these with that modified, by the way. Here's an interesting view right inside the Victor. You see that this actually has two designs of type bar. You see these outer 6 bars, 3 on this side and 3 on the other, are actually motivated from the front. Well, actually from the side, I should say, with reach rods reaching up, and then the rest of them are motivated from the back. So type bar pulled the print point there. Type bar pushed the print point on this side. But what's very hard to see is that these type bars are actually riding on 2 bearings. It's a fork.
Mm-hmm.
There's an upper, and if we can get in here, you can see it right there. If I can get under there, yeah, you can see the upper hinge point for that type bar right there. There was another one,
Way down.
yeah, nestled inside, staggered with all the other bearings in there. So I can't remember what number they quoted on the Victor. I'd have to look, but they quoted that aggregate distance between those two and said that you had the equivalent of a quarter or a half-inch bearing.
Mm-hmm.
And
it is smooth.
yeah, that's
you can if you're a good typist, a good touch typist, you can smoke on this machine.
yeah. The Victor, the 2 and the 3 are I'm wandering off topic here, as is my want, but the 2 and 3 are pretty good. The Victor number 10 is really a springy machine. But anyway, you can see now that there's a variety of ways to mount the type bars.
And early on, there were as many different ways to do it as there were people who could think about it to get a type slug to the print point.
That's right.
There, and individual bearings early on was a common way to go.
That's right. If you didn't want to have to pay Underwood for the
right, you had to come up with a non-slotted segment.
Yeah.
Individual bearing.
So anyway, there's your update on the Visigraph. Was there anything else we wanted to talk about?
Oh, we might want to talk about that strange thing on that brother, or should we just save that for another video?
No, let's take a look at that while we're here.
Oh yeah, a real late development in typewriters was the ability to type different characters, and so when we see these brother machines of this late body, the parallel key action large machine, when you see them with a red plus or equals key, that means that they have this last type bar can have a different head installed. And you also notice a big difference in the segment. Notice that space there.
The gap.
And this is very unlike the Smith Coronas that started out with one type bar on the left that could accept a interchangeable slug, and then they went to two, and they offered math, engineering, Greek. I've seen just sold on eBay one that was playing card symbols. I don't know why you would need to type that, but
your Bridge Club maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, Brother came out with a totally different idea. They had one and only one interchangeable slug with a rotary head that you could change. This rotates.
See that? It clicks around.
And I don't know if you'll be able to see it in the camera. If you look straight down on the top of the
that's going to be hard to get because this doesn't really want to focus. You can kind of see them right
symbols.
here. Yep.
All of the symbols that can type are on the top of the head.
Yeah, you can see that.
In other words, there is one and only one dial-a-type. That's what they called it. Brother called it dial-a-type. There is one and only one dial-a-type cylinder that has all of the characters on it, whereas Smith Corona had individual sets.
Yeah.
This machine is most frequently seen as a Montgomery Ward, but this one is actually, like we said, is a Brother Profile 715, which numbering doesn't really fit the sequences we understand it. But
it doesn't really make any sense.
This is, again, this is a really late machine. This is, probably late 60s, early 70s.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, those are hard to find. We knew those existed for a while.
We've known they existed for years.
But before we were able to
This is the
find
first one I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So, and it went unnoticed.
It's the first one we ever saw, and we were waiting for it.
So there that is.
So there's your update on the Visigraph, plus a bonus. We'll see you again soon.